we really made a distinct effort to make sure that we're not just going to rely on video production to basically take over our creative. Let's use it to amplify the experience, not show ads, not show commercials, not show things that bore people, but actually supplement it and complement it to ensure that the things that are happening around the stadium are now visible to everybody.
Hello and welcome to the Daktronics Experience podcast. I'm here with Matt Anderson and I'm Justin Oxner. Today we are at the Savannah Bananas, Grayson Stadium. We're going to talk about the brand new video display they got this year. But first, let's introduce our guest. We're here with Jared. Jared, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to the position you're at today?
Yeah, this is great. Thanks for having the conversation. My name is Jared Orton, as you mentioned, president here with the Savannah Bananas. Been here for 10 years. Been here since day one when we took over this stadium all the way back in October of 2015, which is hard to think about. And here we are today.
Yeah, it's awesome. So what kind of it's the umbrella, right? You're team president, but what does like a typical day look like? Even though I don't think you guys really have typical days, do you?
Yeah, typical days are certainly hard to come by in a sense of what it was 10 years ago. A typical day 10 years ago was trying to convince people that, we were going to have something fun for them to do. Professional baseball was here for almost 100 years, 90 years in 2015, 2016. And we came to this kind of really run down place that people had forgotten about. And so, back in the day, it was like, let's just try to convince people to buy some tickets. And now it's a little bit different. It's trying to convince people that there are no tickets available and that's okay. But now, it's thinking about how do we create Banana Ball in all these different stadiums, all these different places, all these different venues, and bring this game to as many people as we possibly can. And that's what we think about every day. How do we bring Banana Ball to as many people as we possibly can? Where is that next fan?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Before we get too far, you mentioned Banana Ball twice. Can you give us a quick history of Banana Ball before we get too far into things?
Yeah. The history of Banana Ball is interesting. People probably don't realize that we started as a college summer wooden bat league team in 2015, 2016. Our first season was 2016, Coastal Plain League. We're doing the college summer wooden bat league thing, which is, kind of confusing to people when we came to this market where they had professional baseball. And so we do that 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, still a focus on fun, still a focus on making baseball fun. We had the dancing players. We had the senior citizen dance team, Banana Nanas. We had, Maceo out there doing crazy things as the first base coach. We had the mascot split. We had Tyler Gillum join us in 2018. He started wearing cowboy boots. We did all these fun, crazy, ridiculous things, but we were still playing traditional baseball. Mm-hmm. But we were actually pretty good. We won a championship in 2016. We won a championship in 21, 22. But then we realized in like 2018, 2019, what's going to be next? Mm-hmm. Like, we were doing college summer wooden bat league baseball, and we have this 3,000 or 4,000 seat stadium during that time, and we were stuck. Like, we could only sell so many tickets to so many games in a traditional league. And we asked the question, what would it take for us to find the next fan? And we began tinkering, testing these rules. What if there was a 2-hour time limit? What if, could a fan catch a foul ball for an out? If there's no bunting? Like, we tried to root out all the friction points, and we tested a game of Banana Ball. And we started testing and testing and testing. And then in 2021, right after COVID, we went on a one-city world tour to Mobile, Alabama, and we brought Banana Ball. We brought the party animals and the bananas, and we go to Mobile, Alabama, and we test this game in front of 7,000 people on the road, not in Savannah. And people freaked out, and they kept coming. They kept talking about it. They saw it was something they'd never seen before. And so that was the real genesis of Banana Ball. And of course, now we've gone all in on it, 23, 24, 25, and believe that that's where we can find our next fan.
And even starting off, you mentioned, trying to get and sell tickets. How was it even? I'm thinking from like a player's perspective. You had two teams, but finding enough quality baseball players that kind of buy into that. So how was that kind of even starting off? Do you have like recruiting you were doing?
Right.
Or?
Yeah. So early on, it was something we've always had to kind of sell ourselves to people and show them like there is a fun way to do this. Mm-hmm. Well, we've always realized that it's not just about the fun. The field, the players on the field still have to be wonderfully talented.
Yes.
And there has to be a good game. And we're not perfect at that yet. There's always going to be room for improvement. And, not to bash the guys who were on that One City World Tour, but they would not be able to compete in the 2025 game. The game has become faster, and there's more the trick plays and the talent and the skill, on the mound and in the batter's box and on the field. Like, there is real skill that's happening. And our coaching staff and animal operations staff, they are constantly looking for, like, who is that next player who can compete really well on the field, but also be entertaining for fans and also create social media content and also, look a kid in the eye and give him an autograph and high five him and not be above that. Like, they have to be great at both.
Yeah. Personality plays into it a lot.
That's
too.
it.
Yeah. Okay. So we're here in the stadium, and you said you started with creating Banana Ball and making it fun and interesting and something people have never seen before. This is your first year with a video board, so it obviously started without a video display element. Can you tell us about how that kind of grew up in the stadium here?
Right. So we are sitting here in Grayson Stadium, which was originally built 1926. Fell down sometime in the 40s, rebuilt in the 40s as what we know and sit here as Grayson Stadium. And, this is an old, it's going on 80-year stadium, and it doesn't have frills. We don't have suites. We don't have clubs. We're not serving steak and lobster tonight. This is not your typical major league, upper echelon premium experience. But it has character and it has fun. And what that did early on was it forced us to be creative. We came here to Grayson Stadium, and right over there where the current Daktronic board sits now, there was this kind of old antiquated facade structure thing, and it had some advertisements around the side, and in the middle it had one of those really old square units. And so we're asking the previous team, where's the information to that? They were long gone by that point, and quite literally we didn't have the brains to it. There was no cabling. Everything had been ripped out. No computer system, just a board. And I think, if I remember correctly, just had the old static last image that was just stuck up there forever.
Oh, like the old plasma TV.
It was just like, well, here was the last game, and that's it. And we had to put a banner over it. We just literally hung a banner over it. And
just the board, or the ads that were around it too, the whole thing?
The whole thing. We just hung banners over it because we had no money. We had nothing to be able to do anything with it. But it forced us to be creative. Mm-hmm. And it forced us to literally for 10 years come up with a show on the field, an intimate experience that used our brains and our creativity and our showmanship and things that people would never see before, and create this really intimate show experience. And so that was the origin of it. And that's probably the origin of most of our stories, is like, we just came from nothing. We've never had anything nice. We've never had anything fancy. It's always forced us to be creative. And then now we're able to level that up.
Yeah, and I think we were kind of talking a little bit before the recording here too, right? Of you started going on the world tour, right? Going to more and more places, and you kind of started seeing what other people were doing, maybe with their video boards, or how you worked with their video boards. Talk maybe a little bit about how that inevitably led to, all right, we need to get one back at our home base here.
Right. As we started going on the tour, we started going to certainly more modern and nicer stadiums, which is fantastic. And, there's 4,000 people here when we, kind of first started. We're up to about 5,000 people here now. But you can see as you see the stadium, it's a pretty intimate experience. Like, you're closer to the field than you are the video board, certainly. As we went to the larger stadiums, and they had outfield seats, and they had berm seats, and they had upper decks, and people actually, our fans, began challenging us, saying, how will you bring this experience to everyone? And as we went to the major league stadiums in 2023 or 2024, it was like, oh my gosh, there's 42,000 people here at Citizens Bank Park or Nats Park or whatever. How are we going to show the baby race, right? Where you've got six-month-olds on the field, and they're crawling, and one's crying, and one is, picking its nose, and, Jesse's down there. Like, how do you bring that to the person in the upper deck? we wanted to bring that to them. And we obviously have really talented people on our staff, creative minds, good technical operators, things like that. And they began putting this show together that really complemented and even supplemented and plussed the on-field intimate experience. And that was something that we really made a distinct effort to make sure that we're not just going to rely on video production to basically take over our creative. Let's use it to amplify the experience, not show ads, not show commercials, not show things that bore people, but actually supplement it and complement it to ensure that the things that are happening around the stadium are now visible to everybody.
Yeah, and I'm kind of thinking, even just from getting more and more aware of the group from over the last year, obviously social media plays a big part of seeing a lot of the videos as they go. And as we say, it's an industry curse, but I always think about Daktronics boards and how all these things work together. But my thought was too, right, when you have like even the walk-up songs and there's the camera, first of all, the cameramen are phenomenal. I see the videos of the cameramen running alongside the players as they come out, but it's one of those, they're, sing along to a song or something like that. So it's seeing the video on your phone, it makes sense. It's an awesome production that everyone else comes in. So is that kind of part of it too? Like that's how you use the video board is what I imagine, because then it's like, all right, no matter where you're sitting, it's different seeing that aspect where the player's looking in, singing into the camera than just kind of seeing a cameraman and a person run around.
That's it. Yeah, spot on. As we think about our production, we don't have any rules, right? Like we are the league, right? We are the thing. We don't have to listen to anybody mostly. And so as we begin creating what we call these kind of over the top moments, OTT moments, the walk-ups, the celebrations and things like that, that's happening in a specific area. Or, we can really begin to think outside the field. And, if a player is doing a walk up to a pop song or something along those lines and they're coming from the stands, it's a sea of people. There's 42,000 people here. How do we key in on that, go right in their face with a nice marketing camera, great color, great production, and bring the 42,000 people face to face with that player and the camera? They're looking that camera in the eye and they're singing the song and like everyone's cheering.
That's the moment, right?
Yeah. That amplifies. Or there's a walk off and the lights are going off and the cameras are going crazy and that camera person runs out to second base, third base, and they're following that person down the line. But wait, there's a celebration that happens on home plate and the players come together and we get that really nice tight shot and that gets amplified. Those things, that's how we bring it to life. And again, we've been forced to be creative without those things. And then it's taking these wonderful pieces of technology and say, okay, what does this do to plus the experience?
Right. And that piece of technology, just the tech call out here, your display is 26 feet high by 47 feet wide. It's a 10 millimeter display. It looks great in the outfield there, but that's what you're using to bring those moments to life for the people that can't see the person in the sea of fans and that zoom in on them there. So
I was even kind of thinking then, so then you realize you want a video board back here. So what was that process? Like, was it, were you just scrolling through looking at it, but you've seen so many stadiums, you just kind of want like a good video rectangle kind of thing, or how did that process actually start?
Yeah, it was something that, we struggled with for a while because we're in this historic ball. We've never had to use one, right? We thought, we don't need that stuff, right? Like we can just do it on the field. But as we started realizing that it could become that plus, we when we think about all of our shows, entertainment, the whole business, we talk about learn, change, plus. And on those tours, we were learning a ton. We were able to adapt and change. And then you think about, okay, well, then how do we plus? And so as we began putting in, a lot of the elements around Grayson Stadium, we changed the lighting, we went with the turf field, we had the video board, and then we started adding some structures and left field and right field, and we realized like we've got to bring this here because potentially it's actually a disservice to our fans if we don't bring it in. We're beginning to set an expectation, realizing that these fans who do come to the big stadiums, like it is something that they enjoy, something that they like. It's something that they want to look for, when they're seeing these things happen. Can I look to the video board and see, are they bringing that to me? Okay, we can do that here and we can do it in a creative way, not in a way that we don't want to use it as a crutch, right? We're using it as a tool. And so I think there's a big difference there sometimes when you think about technology or entertainment experience. It's like, oh, we'll just install that thing and it'll take over. Like that'll be enough. Well, no, it's not the video board cannot be a crutch. Any of these digital displays cannot be a crutch. We must use them as a tool to amplify the entertainment experience, not to sell ads, not to do any of those things, not to run commercials, to truly plus everyone's experience. And when we brought that here, I think it's been proof every single time that it's been a plus to the experience.
Right, and you've got a custom Daktronics control system running that, and you mentioned the camera operator and how they're bringing that to the board to bring it to the fans. Was there thoughts behind of like, okay, now we've got this, do we know how to run it, or do we know how we want to run it? Like, you're going to use it to show and amplify, right? But you still have to have somebody making sure that happens correctly on the back end.
The old computers that you had didn't do that for
no.
you, right? So.
I always joke around the office, that it's really cool if you buy a Formula One car, but if you've only driven a Honda Civic, I don't know if you potentially have permission to drive a Formula One car. And so, yes, certainly, you buy the nice thing, well, you've got to use the creativity and the knowledge and the technical skill, and you got to get the right people involved to say, okay, how are we going to actually use this thing again as a tool to bring this production to life? And we all get in those situations where it's like, oh, let's just buy the next thing, let's just buy a shiny thing, and it'll make everything better.
Yes.
Well, no, it's got to be used wonderfully as a creative tool. And so, yeah, we've got folks on our staff who specifically think about that show as again, as a supplement or complement to what's happening on the field. And when we go through our production meetings, you'll see the rehearsals and the script meetings and the idea sessions and, okay, well, what can we do here? And do the graphics match our overall brand? And like, okay, that didn't feel right. Did the crowd respond, to something last night? Like, hey, we put this on the field and we put it on the board and, oh, people didn't notice. And so they're constantly thinking about how do we bring this to life through that lens? And the video people think about that. The technical people think about that. The show operators think about that. And it becomes this cohesive thing. Not just, oh, well, that's the afterthought, or like, well, that's just where the stats live, or that's just where the player headshot goes. Like, no, this is part of the show. This is part of the experience. And those people have to do it really, 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 really well. If not, we just have a big TV screen on the outfield wall, and that doesn't do anything for anybody.
Yeah. Check, adjust, plus. Is that how you put it?
Learn, change, plus.
Learn, change, plus. Yeah, I like that. That's great. It shows that you're constantly thinking about that. And you mentioned the script meeting too. I've heard through some of the social media videos that some aspects are scripted, but obviously not the outcome, right? Or who wins the inning type of thing. It's more like okay, we know we're going to have this player walk up and do this choreographed dance or whatever. So is there a lot of scripting that goes into some of those bigger moments, and I'm guessing you're always adjusting those as well?
Right, certainly. So that is probably, if we get 1,000 questions, I think 998 of them are, so it's scripted, right? And it is, except the game, as you mentioned. And it's very hard to script a 92 mile per hour fastball getting hit 412 feet to left field. If you could script that, then I think all of sports
and
are
backflip catch
and the backflip catch,
Right.
And so, yes, we have a script, but it is entertainment and show based, literally from the moment that fans enter this plaza, here in Grayson Stadium, that would be 4:30 in the afternoon, till the gates opening at 5:30, to the pre-show, to the warm-ups, to first pitch, to the celebrations, to the walk-ups, to the in-between innings, all of that. Planned, scripted, not only scripted, but backup scripted. Like, well, if this goes wrong, we should change this. Or what if it rains? Or what if the game's going slow and we don't really do this? Or, man, we really need a t-shirt tosser here. Let's just go with it. And so all of that is scripted, and then the game is not. And, it was really funny. I was watching... we were in a different stadium, but I was in the room, and all the production was in the same room. So it was broadcast was in there, announcer was in there, the audio was in there, the board operators was in there, and the communication that was having to happen. We do a moment in the game called the golden batter, and this is like this moment where the coach can basically decide to insert any player in the lineup to hit, and a lot of times they do it back to back. So in baseball, you want your best player to have the biggest moment to potentially walk off the game, right? And so the golden batter gets planned, but the production team doesn't know that that's happening, right? And it was like they were like landing the plane, on the moon type of thing, and it was like the headsets were flying, and it was like golden batter, golden batter, golden batter, and they couldn't figure out who it was, and because the guy's got a hood on, and it was like all the graphics people were trying to feed the thing to the board, but it was like the ducks swimming underwater, right? Like the legs were moving like this, but everyone was calm, and then you look and it goes, golden batter graphic comes up. The camera person has to get right there. The lights have to go off. They got to get the person walking up. Broadcast has got to get the same thing going.
Jeez.
And it worked.
And it worked.
And, all however many fans were there got to see that. And I was like, dang, that we are on the fly, man. Like that is a tough thing to produce. But if you miss that, I don't know if that same level of like the golden batter, I don't know if that hits. Like if you don't get it on camera, if you don't get front facing, if you don't get the graphic to go up, if you can't get the lights to go down, if you can't get it on, like it doesn't have the same power. Right. And so we can use the technology like that to, again, amplify a moment in time like that.
And the randomness of it, right? Like you're saying,
the randomness is crazy.
Yeah, but it's not like, all right, the fourth batter is the golden batter. No, it's when it happens and your whole staff and everyone is not realizing it's going to happen. It's unexpected.
You might as well just pick a name out of a hat and here we go.
So you're saying right now you might not even know who the golden batter is for tonight.
You probably know, right?
Gets used.
No.
That's awesome.
Now, of course, there's obviously there's statistical evidence, right, to say, all right, maybe this person is hot tonight, or certainly left-hander versus right-hander, whatever. There's thought behind it. Certainly, it's not just one of 9, but you don't know the moment, and you really don't know who it is until
it happens.
Coach says go.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, and so I can't wait to see it tonight and how it's used too, right? Because the dorkiness part of me will be watching the board a lot too anyway. But just even mentioning the use of it. So you're talking about during a game or anything when it comes to like sponsorships or anything, there's no ads on the display at all. Right. Is it just like full screen with some data on it and stats? Is that kind of how the layout goes, or is it just full screen the whole time? Or?
Right. So it's a combination of full screen, but also certainly keying in on the walk-ups, the celebrations, the big moments, the marketing cameras, the on-field elements, the between inning promotions and things like that. And then we flash back and forth to some different like planned elements that, kind of accentuate what's happening in the stadium. There are some planned features that happen that, later on in the game where there's some call and response type of things to people. But, if you look around the stadium, there are no ads at all. And so we have returned Grayson Stadium to its former glory. We only pay homage to the previous teams that have been here, and then it's all Bananas branding around the entire stadium. The only thing we do, we do one little Dunkin' Donuts bit where we pick a poor soul from the opposing team during the game, and everyone just jeers, not cheers, jeers at that person. Donuts. And if that person strikes out, which they almost always do, everyone in the crowd gets free donuts, and they lose their money. You think the T-shirt toss is cool? Wait till the donuts chant happens.
Everybody wants donuts,
and we do the donut thing on the board. But that's all we use it for, is to enhance the experience.
That's awesome. But because I was just wondering, it made me think of it's very unique in the sense that you do this world tour, go to all these different stadiums, and then you kind of come back here, and you got like your strategy built out to how you want this park to look. So when you go to other stadiums, do they ever come to you and say, hey, we got sponsorship obligations here? Or does the stadium pretty much just say, all right, Jared, take over and just do what you guys do and don't worry about any of the sponsorship type things?
They hand it over to us, which is a blessing, certainly, to be able to do that. Yeah. And, obviously when we go to these larger stadiums, there's the ribbon boards and there's multiple video production boards. And, it's a huge complement of technology that we're having to use and bring that together. Now we're using their staff a lot of times to be able to execute that for us. But you guys will find, it's very interesting when we go to these stadiums and we ask for the dimensions and, they get told the wrong ones. And it's like, oh no, we have got to pivot.
Yeah.
And it puts a big time creative challenge on some of our staff to be like, all right, so this one is in the shape of the mountains, or this one's in the shape of a crown, and I don't know if I'm calling out some of y'all's properties or not.
Yeah,
but
you're 2-0 right now.
Wow, that was awesome. So good for me. And it's like, okay, how much more creative can we get here?
Yeah.
This is a lot.
Yeah.
And is it do you do design for the ribbons? Because again, like some stadiums have backstop displays, ribbons, all these things. So are you and your team doing it for all the displays, and you follow the same kind of mantra? Like
we are, and the craziest part is certainly teaching the operators the differences of a line score, because in banana ball, every inning counts, and there's a 2-hour time limit. And so we got to throw a timer up there with a clock, a countdown, and the entire ribbon board and the line score has to change. And we're doing every inning counts, which means basically if the party animals score 1 run in an inning and then the bananas score 2 in the same inning, it only counts for 1 point. And so if you win the inning, you get a point, and all the points add up at the end. So we don't really have run hits and errors. We have kind of runs, but we also have points. We do have hits. We don't really have errors. We actually have trick plays, and so we actually are counting trick plays up there. And so they're like, what have you done to our baseball stadium? They're like, none of this makes sense. But it goes to show you, I think, the teaching and technical capabilities of our crew and staff to be able to walk into a stadium and explain that to people. And certainly I would imagine the ease of use of the board, and the technology to be able to go in and do that and manipulate that quite simply. And of course, we're able to build some shells and things like that, where it's like we're not doing it for the first time anymore.
Some templated out kind of thing.
But to be able to actually go and do that and show the flexibility and bring that to a big stadium it's
That's
a
impressive.
huge piece that we're able to do.
So you've created Banana Ball, this whole new baseball experience, so to speak. You started taking it on the road. You've gone and brought it to different communities and different fan bases and number of fans per arena, venue, stadium, wherever you're going. What's next for Banana Ball?
Great question. What's next for Banana Ball is the league. And we announced that last October of 2024, that we announced our new team, the Texas Tailgaters, which they're awesome. They've got this whole new identity and brand. So we've got 4 teams now. And we announced that we were going to be forming a Banana Ball Championship League in 2026. So for the 2026 campaign, and that we would also be adding 2 more teams. And so quite literally in a few months, October of 2025, we will announce what the identities of those 2 teams are, and in front of a live audience here at the stadium, and then a digital production broadcast audience, hopefully nationwide, if not globally. And we'll announce the league format, when the season starts, and the championship tournaments and the all-star games and free agency drafts, and like all the nuances of what it means to run a league, certainly with the tricks and bits and skits of Banana Ball. It will not be traditional by any sense. And so we know that we need to keep building upon Banana Ball. If you come see the Savannah Bananas tonight, you are seeing the Savannah Bananas, not one of the Savannah Bananas.
One of the teams in the league.
That's right. You're seeing the Savannah Bananas. And so the Bananas got to be great, and the firefighters have to be great, and the tailgaters have to be great, and the party elements have to be great, and teams 5 and team 6 also have to be great, and it has to be competitive, but it also has to be fun, and we still have to have trick plays, and we still have to have moments, and we still have to have skits and bits and tricks, and we still got to meet fans after the game. Like, we still have to do all of that, and we still have to have this kind of competitive element of, will there be a winner? Will there be a loser? And that means something to people.
Yeah. So each one of those teams they won't all have their own stadiums then, right? But so like Savannah Bananas, like you're saying, are the ones with the home base, and everyone else just kind of comes in. Well, but yeah, so there'll always be a Savannah Banana team playing here. It would never be like the firefighters versus the party animals here, or maybe I don't want to.
No, it's great. We tried that. We did. We tried that. I guess it was probably last year, maybe the year before that. And we tried a party animals game. and we tried the party animals kind of taking over Grayson Stadium.
Oh,
and
like the colors.
Yeah, and we the first year we did it 2 years ago. The first year we did it, the story was in a kind of made up story was that the party animals had gone rogue overnight, and they had stripped all the bananas away from the stadium, and we crossed off bananas. We put pink paint everywhere and things like that, and it was kind of fun. It was quirky for that night. And then we did it again in 2024, I guess, a little bit more planned out. And it just didn't feel right. I don't know how to explain it other than, people were coming to the game and they were like, wow, we thought we were coming to see the bananas and this is the banana stadium. And it was no offense to the party animals. They do a great job. They're a great team. It's a great show, like all those things. And we just realized people are coming to Grayson Stadium to see the bananas. And so we don't do that anymore. It's bananas only. However, at the end of this year, there's going to be a tournament, an end of tour tournament, where we will have all 4 teams playing, competing, 4 games. There'll be a champion, all that stuff. Okay. And so there will continue to be those types of things that happen here in Savannah at Grayson Stadium, kind of the home of banana ball, if you will. But the rest of those teams, they're vagabonds, basically. They have no home. They have to tour and go across the country and build fans. And the bananas will continue to do that as well. Yeah. We'll still play the big stadiums, football stadiums, major league stadiums. Yeah. Can we play at other stadiums at some point? And the other teams will continue to tour and travel as well.
Okay. And I mean, I've just got to ask you, you've done all this, you've experienced all this. Do you have a favorite part of the game that's scripted for you? Like, what's something that you really, maybe it's something the fans look forward to and blow up with every time, or if something that you personally think is really cool?
So my role on game days, we get going really early, especially these big stadiums. We get going really early. We're meeting with the operations people, safety people. We're getting trucks unloaded. We're setting up merchandise. We're getting ticketing set up. Like, we're going through all these paces. And I not to compare it to another sport, but I feel like I'm in a football game basically. Like my first quarter is from 8 o'clock in the morning to maybe 12. Second quarter is like we got to get the gates open. Third quarter is like getting up to first pitch, and then I'm like, all right, we got to get through first pitch at the end of the game. But there's a moment, I don't remember what time it is. I'm not as good as the timing as our production people, but there's a moment leading up to first pitch, leading up to the national anthem, really, and we call it the fan warm-up. And usually it's a small child, call it maybe 5 or 6 years old, and they'll run out there in their pink or yellow Bananas t-shirt, and Jesse's out there with them, and he gives this kind of big intro. The players are ready, the cast is ready, the characters ready. Now it's time for you to get ready. And this little kid will run out onto the field, bebopping out there, and Jesse's like, all right, whatever you do, the fans are gonna do. And of course the camera's right on him, and this is perfect for 42,000 people with big video board. And the kid is either deer in the headlights or, has a little bit of a sense of what they're doing, and they're looking around. You're going to see their expression on their face, and then they'll start clapping, and all the fans will start clapping, and then they'll, start doing like some sort of like the Macarena or something. All the fans are, and then kids will start doing jumping jacks, and you see all the fans start doing jumping jacks in the stadium, and literally everyone's on their feet, they're cheering, they're dancing, they're smiling. And wherever I'm at, and really wherever our staff is at, we always try to peek out and just see that one. Awesome. Because it just kind of sets the tone for the rest of the night. This is going to be fun, here we go, and then we're off.
So I was hoping I'd be taking notes here. These are so many fun things to look forward to. And hopefully Dylan's taking notes back there somewhere. But yeah, we always ask a question then of our guests at the end of what advice would you give in the scenario? So you, even just thinking of how the banana ball and everything's been, taking off over the last couple of years, and you guys are really huge right now. You're everywhere. But even just thinking about the technology side, going from no video board to a video board, is there any advice you would give to someone in your situation that maybe didn't have one and was looking to get one?
Well, we have this phrase around here, whatever's normal, do the exact opposite. And, we feel like normal decisions get you normal results. And, if you just take what everyone else does and replicate it and throw your colors on it, are you really innovating with what the technology can provide you? And I think I said it earlier, using it as a tool and getting with creative people and saying, what could we do? What would be interesting here? What would get people cheering and dancing and smiling and like what would that be like? And I think technology allows the creativity to fly. If you have great technology, great capabilities, great back end systems, like then your creative can fly. I think if you use the opposite of that, it's just like, well, we're just going to do what the technology tells us to do. Man, you're really limiting what could be done. And so my advice, my challenge is don't just take what everyone else does, throw your colors on and be like, well, this is how we use it.
This is Savannah Banana now.
Really push the creative, the video, the storytelling, the tight shots. How do you bring everyone into those moments that are happening inside of a stadium? That would be what I would challenge people to do. And I think you'll surprise yourself on what things like this can do for the fans in the arenas, in the stadiums, and certainly the show entertainment elements that can be provided for a venue.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm even curious what the next year will look like. Because we always say to everyone too, right? I'm going to kind of borrow your analogy along with this of the F1 car. You're not going to have someone just hopping and driving, but a lot of times when we visit with customers, the first year, what they do with the board versus the second year, they're trying just not to crash it, right? The first year, you got to make sure, and then they get off season, and you guys obviously writing down notes everywhere you go, but then maybe the next couple seasons, you'll start incorporating different things into it and stuff. So that'd be interesting.
100%.
Yeah, and I think your advice answer was perfect for the Savannah Bananas, and it shows that you have gotten creative with everything that you've been doing, judging by the popularity and the demand for tickets to see it in person and experience it. So, Jared, I want to thank you for taking the time to sit down with us, talk about Banana Ball, and of course your new video display. So
thank you guys.
Thanks, Jared.
My pleasure.